and Carol from Microsoft for joining us. This has been a crazy year, and we've had to move everything online and even this competition. So I'm really pleased that we were still able to do this. The level of interest that we got from across Australia and New Zealand, 140 teams registered, over 400 students. So well done to you 6 teams for getting this far, all the work that you've put in so far. And all the best for today. Just in terms of, look, this is the first time we're running the finals online via Zoom. Bear with us if there is any technical issues. Hopefully there isn't. It should be pretty straightforward. After each team presents, the judges will go off into a breakout room for a few minutes to deliberate while the other team gets ready to present. After 3 teams have presented, we will have a break for everyone. And then once everyone is presented, the judges will pick their winners, and then we can obviously announce everything. But enjoy it, have fun, and all the best to everyone.
Cool. We'll just have Anna start us off, and we'll be introducing the teams, and she'll be the timekeeper.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Raymond, and today I'm joined by Matthew and Alex to present to you about Genie, a quoting solution that improves lead conversion rates. So in terms of just the current world context, there's 2 main external influences that we need to consider that impact small businesses. First off, we can start looking at the digital transformation, because AI has become more powerful in both understanding and interpreting customer requests, and has more potential in production technology. We also note that there's a growing number of different channels for communication with businesses. Furthermore, we see COVID-19 more as a catalyst in this field, where a lot of SMEs are forced to create online profiles, sometimes without the necessary skills in place to manage those online engagements. And as many businesses downside, we also note that less personnel are now available to effectively follow up with many of these requests. As a result, our product, Genie, is targeting small businesses. Our target market are small businesses, which make up about 97% of all firms in New Zealand, and also a high proportion of firms in Australia as well. Small businesses in the service industry are incredibly suited to Genie, as they're constantly required to provide quotes to potential clients and follow up on them. These businesses should provide Genie with a large customer base, and because of the tailored nature of these individual service quotes, we think our product is going to be very suited towards them. In terms of some of the problems that we identified regarding small businesses in the current climate, we see these as, firstly, foregone clients, because a missed call or an unread email could lead to a lot of lost revenue for clients. In fact, 63% of customers don't actually call back after a missed interaction with the business. Secondly, we think that providing a quote in real time by a business person can actually lead to lots of quotes that are slightly imprecise because they can't consider all of the costs right at that moment of time. And this may lead to some quotes dissuading potential clients and leading to a profit loss for the business as well. Finally, we also see that businesses with an online presence have to deal with a lot more messages now, calls and email across a variety of channels, from messenger bots to forms on Facebook to email conversations in the past as well, and that can be hard to manage, and hiring these additional workers to actually manage that can be costly for businesses. And this is why we present to you Genie, that Matthew will talk to you about.
Our solution is Genie, a real-time quoting engine that takes in lead information across different channels, processes those requests, and provides a realistic final quotation. Genie can provide intelligent responses to many different conversation mediums, such as voice and messages, through the use of AI comprehension technology. This relieves business owners from the distraught of foregone customers and unfavorable first impressions. Genie also utilizes its AI engine, which learns from previous interactions and past financial records to produce a quote for customers in real time. This increases efficiency and reduces the likelihood of miscalculations. With Genie, all client conversations can be easily managed and monitored through an accessible dashboard and synced with productivity software. Business owners won't have to stress over a large client base, as they can manage all their jobs at a single glance. Genie aims to provide around 4 values. Genie will improve business customer lead conversion rates through real-time responses and information gathering. We will also automate the tedious process, allowing quotation information to integrate directly to MYOB and other productivity software. We will also work across industries and across communication channels, ensuring no leads are lost. And Genie is competitively priced that will save businesses from additional personal costs.
Cool. So now looking at our actual product, here we just have a general flow diagram showing all the integrations that we're going to planning to put into our Genie platform. We have a few input sources through different channels, and we're going to be syncing that with, for example, Google Calendar, MYOB, and all of this is developed on a MERN stack hosted on the AWS E2 engine. Now Matthew is going to start sharing his screen and showing our demo product there.
Yep. So this is our prototype website, if you guys can see it. So we have a business dashboard for managing customer interactions, and this is where how a business will see it. But firstly, I will show you the client simulator to show how clients would interact with Genie. The first feature I'll be showing is the messaging feature. As you can see, the background is an example of a landing page for a small photography business. We chose a photography business as we are more knowledgeable of its operations, but Genie could also be used in other types of businesses such as trades. Now in the bottom right corner is a messaging service called Instabot that we're using. And it's here that we can engage in dialogue so that we can provide the right information for the Genie to calculate a quote for us. So a brief description, event photography. Now we go down to some specifics. Let's have 2 photographers, and there will be around 4 hours of service. And ASB Showgrounds is the location. And this is synced to the business's schedule, so we choose a time that they have available. It calculates a cost and a quote for the client, and we provide a name, and finally an email, so that the quote can be sent to our email later. And now as we go back to the dashboard, we can see it has appeared in real time for the business to further do stuff to it. And our second feature we'd like to show is this is a second input method, a form, and this takes in a whole paragraph describing the request and processes it using AWS Comprehend AI, and we can extract key information from it, such as this. And this can be integrated with like email or like voice transcripts to get even more input methods. And I'll show you this also appears on the business end as well in real time. That was my previous one. Now I would like to pass over to Raymond to do the business end. Thanks.
Awesome. So when we see the client dashboard, this is what businesses will see. Over here, they'll be able to manage many of their client requests with the latest ones appearing at the top. They'll be able to see the conversations that the chatbot is having with other people. They'll be able to approve or decline specific quoting requests when specific features are toggled, or archive some of the older things that they don't want to see anymore. Some of the features that we intend to build in is having quoting spectrum, so having the bot quoted on the higher end or the lower end of the budget range, having the preciseness of the quote being if it takes into more into account, for example. We also want to have the feature where they automatically send the quoting estimates, so it actually is in real time, but we also know that sometimes some businesses aren't actually happy with just sending off quotes without previously approving that, so that's why we have approve buttons and decline buttons where different features like sending an email will actually be built into that in the future. Cool. So now moving back onto our actual presentation here, and that's over here, sorry about this. And it's also located at genieapp.digital if you'd like to take a look at that.
Thank you, Raymond. Moving on to the business model, our business employs a subscription model, charging the customer a monthly fee to access our services. We plan to offer 3 levels of accounts: Startup, Pro, and Enterprise, with an incremental number of features for each price level. The subscription model was chosen to encourage businesses to try our service at a minimal cost without expensive license fees, and they could cancel their renewal anytime without obligations. So the timeline illustrates our short-term goals. We aim to finish our minimum viable product within 4 months upon completing our prototype, which accomplishes all the necessary features such as processing inputs and outputting data into productivity softwares. We will further make improvements with additional integration to our product over the next 2 to 6 months and aim to have it launched at the end of the period. We will continue to develop our product after launch, perfecting our machine learning algorithms and expanding into new industries of different areas of speciality. So our marketing strategy, in the short term, we aim to create a powerful impact upon launch through the use of advertising and marketing campaigns. In the longer term, we will aim to continue growing our paid subscriber base. This picture shows our financial forecast for the next 5 years. We will require a loan of $250,000 to cover operational costs in the first 2 years. We will estimate it to start profiting in the 3rd year, and we will have enough cash flow in the 5th year to pay back the loan. This is our projected increase in customer base, and this is a breakdown of our marketing costs, our license fees, and marketplace subscription costs. Finally, this is our financial forecast, which suggests that we will start breaking even halfway through the 2nd year of operations.
Thanks, team.
Thank you for listening, and we're now ready for any questions you have.
I've got one. It's Kim Clark here. You went through in terms of the target market that you were focused in on being services industries. In terms of was there a particular type or profile of service industry that you'd look to be targeting with this type of application? Particularly given the quoting nature of it, so there's not a lot of back, to and fro in terms of the quoting.
Yeah, I can help answer that. So originally we looked at specifically industries where it's more of a tailor-made quotation, where you don't list specific prices on your website, for example. We saw this mainly, like, for example, if there was someone painting, for example, or photography, businesses like that, where usually the costs are mostly covered under specific inputs, like, for example, how many hours of coverage, how big the job is, or things like that. And these are also inputs that we think our bot can give a realistic and reasonable estimate for our business to actually approach, or for the customer at the end of the day as well.
Great, thank you.
No worries.
A technical question for me, I guess, is I looked at being able to guide that AI engine requires a fair amount of data and kind of training as well. What's to be able to kind of get started early on? How do you expect to get started and build that data, or to train that model in the first instance before you start to get real client interaction?
Yeah, I guess part of the AI used in this is going to be in 2 fronts. Firstly, it's the language comprehension and the input sources from, for example, conversational AI that we've looked into. We've seen things like Ambit that could potentially be incorporated later down on the line. But also in terms of the actual quoting mechanics of that, part of that is currently just based on very simple data that we've just set up, and we understand that in the future, during that 6-month period, we'll probably need to train it with a lot of information as well. So potentially over the first few months, we'll be looking at very specific industries, for example, like photography. So getting a bunch of data in specific industries and slowly launching across that. And as we build that up with a bigger team, we'll be able to train it more so that way.
Thanks, Tim. I also have a question followed up. It's Carol. Just thinking about, as we build up the data for the tools, how would you look at scaling this? So I think, and when I asked that question, it's we've got a trajectory of a certain revenue amount within 5 years. Have you thought about being able to scale this faster and how you may go about that?
Alex, did you want to take this?
Yeah. So we aim to increase our customer base mostly through advertising a lot. We first try to build a customer base using a big launch on impact. So we'll have a lot of advertising to promote our software. And do you want to talk about it more, Raymond?
Sure thing. So in terms of the actual scalability of it, most of our subscription platforms that we're using, for example, like Atlas, MYOB, as well as the instances, they can be easily scaled, and it's really simple. Literally click a button, and we can see that progress as prices will somewhat increase. We've also factored that in our licensing, where you see some of our costs over here are increasing over time, just over the scaling nature of as we project more people to be on the subscription platform. Along with that, with the marketing, we see some big jumps in usage, and that kind of coincides with all our marketing material over that period of time. So the first marketing launch over here that Alex was talking about is mainly just to introduce the product. The second one is probably when we have a lot more industries and launching it like larger in that sense.
Right. And you mentioned that you would not lock anyone into a contract. Was there a reason you thought you decided to go down that path?
Yeah, I think our product hopefully will speak for itself in the sense that when people are using it more often, they'll actually see to grow like it a lot more. If we lock them in, we think that actually discourages people from joining in the first place, whereas not locking them in, A, we think they'll actually depend on it because we'll have a good product, and B, we think that generally we'll see a good rise in like basically our subscription numbers across the services, even if we don't lock them in. Yep.
Awesome. Great. Thanks, T.
No worries.
Sorry, just a final question. Sorry, you've left the business case up there, which I love. $40,000 for basically this is what would I say? It's quite expensive resources typically, these types of resources, and they're sitting at you've got them here sitting at $40,000 per person. Is that because as owners of this business, you guys are going to take a great pay cut and be sitting on 40 grand for 5 years, or what's the plan there?
Yeah, basically. I'd say that as a startup, a lot of the time it is trying to, at the start of the time, dedicating a lot of that resource to actually growing it, to marketing it. Once we've got that product, we think the business owners or the people who share in that equity stake are way more likely to actually do so if, you know, they A, invest in the product, and B, we see that it is going to grow over the period of time. And in the 5th year, we're going to be seeing, generally from our forecasted 200,000 profit basically from our operational income there. And we think that's a decent amount, and as it grows in the further, we think for a person involved in this, they're going to reap the benefits.
Yeah. The only thing that I would say on an ongoing basis, though, it wouldn't be $40,000, would it? So if you were going to look at this business from a purchase perspective or an acquisition, you'd have to be putting in the real cost of resources in there. But yeah, I take your point in terms of owners of the business putting some skin in the game, which is great.
Cool.
I think that's all the questions we have for this thing. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll stop sharing my screen now then.
Presenting now, we have Team Rocket. Team, you will have 10 minutes to present your solution, followed by 10 minutes of Q&A. We ask you to open your chat box on Zoom, where I will be providing the cues for when you have 2 minutes remaining and when you have 1 minute remaining. If you have not concluded after 10 minutes, you will be asked to stop. You may begin when you're ready.
Okay, beautiful. So hi, I'm Blake and we're Team Rocket. And I'd just like to start by saying it's been pretty rough for everyone this year, especially with COVID, but it's been especially rough for businesses. So in Australia, over 30% of businesses expect it to be difficult to meet financial commitments over the next 3 months. And with the recession on the way, it's looking pretty bleak for many business owners. And on the consumer side, it's really not that great either. A lot of people are very nervous to go out, very scared to go out. And when we do go out, we're presented with long lines. So the solution is, the problem is pretty simple. Businesses and consumers, we need to make consumers feel safe going out, and we need businesses to reap the rewards of those consumers. So our solution is quite simple as well. We use an old technology, which is CCTV cameras, and a new one, cloud-based machine vision. And we merge them to produce real-time store capacity tracking. Okay, but what does this even look like? So imagine it's a Wednesday arvo. you're about to finish work and it's been a rough day. All you want to do is sit on the couch, binge Netflix and eat a bit of ice cream. But the problem is you're out of ice cream. So what do you have to do? You got to go to the shop and get that ice cream. So instead of going to the shop, waiting 20 minutes, you get out your app, you get out the Coles website, you check the current capacity on Coles, sweet, very low right now. And you also see, awesome, they've been under max capacity for the whole day, which means they're COVID safe. This strengthens the trust that has been lost between consumers and the businesses. And it also helps businesses. So it empowers all businesses with high quality data. And this high quality data can be useful not just for large businesses, but Streamline enables small businesses to reap the reward of this custom accounting data. So how do we even do this? We have a 3-stage process. The first stage is detecting motion. The second stage is cloud processing it. And the third stage is informing people about this. And not gonna lie, this is pretty cool. So strap in, it's about to get really interesting. So we first detect motion at the business itself. So we do this by running a custom algorithm that detects motion, as seen here in the black and white kind of funky looking image. And we select the best image. And this works because we tap into the camera feeds at the business location. And you're probably wondering, how do we do this and will it work with all cameras? And the answer is yes. So we leverage the power of OpenCV to enable the 2 most common protocols, HTTP and RTSP. This means that not only IP cameras work, which are the main cameras, CCT cameras in business, but we also enable webcams. So even the little guys, even though they may not have CCTV cameras, they can still participate and they can still get this really valuable data. Okay, sweet. We've detected motion, now we need to process it. So we trained a custom machine vision model to detect whether someone's leaving or entering. And this is where it gets really cool because we trained it, and as you can see by the boxes, the gray boxes are actually what we said, but the green boxes is what the AI predicted. And the crazy thing is that the AI did a better job than us, which is really cool. And what's even cooler is that it predicts in black and white. We tried to lower the resolution, so we reduced it by 10 times, it still worked. And it also does simultaneous detection. So you can have as many people entering or exiting and it still works. And this is great. We've collected the data. We've got this labeled JSON data. And what we do is we simply just store that in the database. We don't store the images. And this is great on 2 fronts. It's fantastic for us because it means we lower our costs because we don't have to store as many images. And it's also fantastic for customer privacy because we're not doing any creepy facial recognition and we're also not saving images of them. So we then move on to informing everyone. And we do this in two ways. We have a REST API for developers, which means that at large corporations, they can seamlessly integrate this data stream into their own products and into their own services. And that's really great for large scale businesses, but for smaller businesses, they don't have those tech teams. So for them, we've developed embedded iframes, which means that similar to YouTube, a single line of code can be placed within Wix or GoDaddy, very common website builders, and we can display real-time custom accounts at stores. And the fantastic thing is, all this data is downloadable for every business, no matter their size, whether they be huge or super small. So I've talked about the tech now, but the business side is also really interesting, and Cass is going to talk about that now.
Hi everyone, thank you Blake. Let's talk some business. So first off, let's just address the elephant in the room, pricing. When the world's experiencing its greatest economic decline since the Great Depression, small businesses can't and won't shell out thousands of dollars for something like this. And unfortunately, that rules out pretty much all custom accounting systems, but not Streamline. With our tiered subscription pricing model, we're not asking thousands of dollars. In fact, For a small business with a daily capacity under 200 people, it's $1.51 a day. For mega stores with daily capacities of 10,000 people, it's $42. You see, this subscription model allows for businesses, especially small businesses going through difficult times, to adopt the system with minimal upfront cost, with the system's development cost distributed over the lifespan. Asking a near bankruptcy business to invest in a $1,200 laser sensor isn't likely to make us much money. Hiring a minimum wage staff member to count capacity, it'll run you $120 a day. But $1.50 a day for multiple years, well, it's certainly far more accessible initially, and in the end it returns us far more profit than a lump sum. To get this project up and running in 3 months will require a loan of $75,000, which will be paid back in its entirety after the first year of operation. But let's be realistic here. How much profit can this actually bring in? It's only $1.50 a day. $13,200 every day. $4.8 million a year. And of course, that's assuming we only get 4,100 venues to sign up for Streamline. That sounds like a lot, but when you realize Coles and Woolies have 2,000 stores in Australia alone, that's a lowball estimate. To achieve these projected venues, we'll be adopting a two-pronged strategy for maximum market penetration. To target consumers, we'll run in-depth Facebook and YouTube advertising campaigns, encouraging them to shop exclusively at Streamline integrated businesses. Secondly, and far more importantly, we'll be targeting major supermarket chains, fast food franchises, and department stores, pitching the system directly to executives. All we require is one successful adoption, and the rest will follow. With major stores being the most significant adopters of the system, hundreds of smaller businesses will be indirectly pressured to follow suit. We'll coax this on by running a LinkedIn campaign targeting small business owners. When a customer can see how many people is in a store and that the store has been operating in COVID-safe conditions, they'll be given peace of mind, which will translate into confidence and sales. But that data is just the beginning. Streamline gives business access to analytics regarding stores' traffic over the course of a day. If we integrate it with MYOB software, it'll track time variant conversion rates, consumer demographics, and it will use AI to generate predictive staffing schedules to maximize efficiency. We can communicate this data to businesses with our very own integrated business dashboard. And here's the kicker. If we develop our own machine vision system using Google AI accelerators, we can triple the profit margin. So let's summarize. Streamline makes customers feel safer. It increases consumer confidence and it increases sales to businesses. The data Streamline collects will help businesses better understand their customers and better tailor their services to the era of COVID-19. And at a price like $1.50 a day, you can't say no. We really hope you're all as excited about this opportunity as we are. We're really looking forward to working with MYOB on this incredible software. Thank you all so much for your time.
Thanks for your presentation, team. You'll now have 10 minutes of Q&A.
All right. Well, I'll jump in then. I think we're all just being polite. I think that was very well done and pretty comprehensive there. I'm finding some questions there is a challenge actually. But when you come back to your pricing and you think about $1.50 per day, nice kind of structure of thinking about how to break down that cost. I guess that comes out at $45 per month as well. Where do you think, will that $45 per month include, how is that structured? Is it number of cameras, a number of access points? Is it number of locations? Do you also need to be thinking about other things such as access to the software and the dashboard? As you start to kind of broaden out your use of the data, are you broadening out your pricing structure to support other offerings, or is it all bundled into the $1.50 price?
So Blake, would you mind sharing our financial plan for this?
Yeah.
So effectively, we'll be keeping the costs flat while increasing the amount of data available to businesses. So as you can see, our costs are derived from storage costs, salary cost, and we're paying quite competitive salary rates here at $105,000 for the project lead and $75,000 for a junior developer. As you can see, we're distributing the cost of this development over the course of 5 years. and we're also taking into account GST. So as we continue to expand this, as we're still paying the developers the same amount, we'll be able to expand the amount of data and value available to businesses while keeping costs low.
Yeah, I'd really like to add on that, Cass, because our current predictions are using the ready-made thing currently working now. So it works today, and that's the biggest bottleneck in price. So if we move to what we hope will be really interesting, which is the AI accelerators with a custom solution, conservatively, a 3x reduction in the major price point. So we can deliver more value for the same price.
And also in lowering that cost, because it's our most major cost, we'll be increasing profit margins to potentially upwards of 90%.
Yeah.
Sorry, just so and sorry, this I might have missed it. The cameras aren't included in the costs, or they are included in the costs?
They're not included in the cost.
They're not
because
included.
Most businesses already have the infrastructure available.
Yeah. So, what sort of coverage would you need to? I mean, a lot of businesses certainly have cameras, but not necessarily for covering the entire, shop floor space. So, have you thought about that in terms of?
So, yeah, really good question. We definitely considered that, and we realized that we don't really need the whole shop space. All we need is the entrances and exits. So that vastly reduces the complexity because we're only dealing with how many people are coming in, how many people are coming out. And that's already proven technology that we've tested. So pretty cool.
Great.
I was just going to say sorry, Cam, I didn't want to just butt in.
Okay.
Great presentation. You were, as I was writing all my questions down, you were actually answering them as we went. But I am going to touch, because I'm the techie, I'm going to touch on the privacy challenges.
Yes.
So, and I noticed that you covered that. Was the first thing I wrote down. So I think when you're speaking to some of the bigger corporations like Coles, for example, who you'd be targeting, how would you make them feel secure that they weren't going to have any PR privacy challenges using this?
Yes. I think that is a fantastic question, because that would be horrible, right? And the real key is that our image detection thing that we trained, it has no clue. It has no clue who you are. All it knows is like you're coming in or you're coming out. So, and we're not saving the images. So it really has no idea who's coming in, who's coming out. At this current point, it really just knows that people are coming in and out. And I think when it comes to privacy, this is some of the most anonymous data we can really get. Like, we can't anonymize it anymore. So I think that's really, pretty secure, pretty private.
Great. And then I think the other thing you touched on as well is how can you sell this data later on? So obviously you're not going to sell the images, the privacy bit, but how do you use the insights and help and sell that to businesses as you look forward?
Yep. So we've really been discussing predictive staffing, because I think that's for a lot of businesses, that's a huge value metric, because if you can just reduce the amount of hours people earn while still doing the same amount of work, like that's fantastic. That's a big savings for a lot of businesses.
That's awesome. That's all I had. You literally covered everything else. So very well done, team.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Please begin whenever you're ready.
I believe one of our speakers is having a bit of a technical Zoom issue right now, so was waiting for that to settle up. Sorry for the slight delay.
Yeah, that's no problem. Just let us know when your team's ready.
Huh?
Hello?
Hi. Yes. Fiona?
Sweet.
Yeah. We hear you.
Yeah, team, you may begin when you're ready.
Okay. This is Heart Healer. COVID-19, isolation and quarantine have caused many people to feel alone, cut off and unproductive. They haven't been able to talk with people that they usually do. They've been cut off from their friends and they've lacked a normal schedule with which to work in. With no one around from their office to check in on them and make sure that they're okay, the mental health of staff and their productivity is suffering. These people need a friend, a heart healer, if you will. Heart Healer is a friendly chatbot that prioritizes improving staff's mental health and secondarily improves their productivity. Our solution helps the users to stay positive by giving them a friend to talk to. It also helps productivity by scheduling the tasks for the user and monitoring when they're most productive. Lastly, it's personalized using machine learning to learn the user's individual needs.
As you can see here, we have 3 different options that have something for everyone. The standard package is the default option that we offer. This is our proposed app. It includes a basic customization, including avatar and voice. We also have personalized self-care reminders. They will remind you things like drinking your 8 daily cups of water, exercise time, meditation time, to journal, and optimize sleep alarms. The reminders aren't exclusive to this though, as there are many more reminder options coming soon. Our counselor feature is an optional add-on that is paid for by the company. This allows you to easily connect to verified counselors who can help you when you're not feeling so great. From market validation, we found that close to half of the users who have this option would be interested in having access to a counselor in this manner. Your personalized chatbot will also monitor your productivity. Just let the Heart Healer know, hey Heart Healer, start the work timer, and it'll chart your productivity so you can see your progress. Inspirational messages will also boost your mood. One of the core features we have provided is the chat function, which we will demonstrate now.
We developed a working prototype for Heart Healer in Dialogflow, a Google Cloud Platform product for chatbot hosting and development. We want to demonstrate the key value that Heart Healer can provide to a user, namely in emotional support and productivity management. Say, I'm feeling a bit stressed.
I'm feeling a bit stressed.
Should I schedule a break for you?
As you can see, Heart Healer allows for both text and voice communication, which can go both ways. What if we aren't really sure how we feel, but we just want to talk to a friend?
I think I need to talk to someone.
One of our unique value propositions is to allow users to connect to their own personal counselors or counselors hired for the company through Heart Healer. Additionally, Heart Healer is your friend, is there for you on your lows and also on your highs. Back to the presentation.
We have also thought about possible ways to expand Heart Healer in the future, adding advanced customization options, journaling so you can write down any thoughts you have and reflect on them, and a voice and text-based calendar scheduler. Meditation exercises are also available, and your journal will receive prompts to help you get started. We know this includes your private information, so we will take your privacy seriously and won't share your data without your consent. Heart Healer's front end will be a cross-platform application. This will be made in Ionic React, so it is responsive to different screen sizes. The back end will consist of the neural network, which will be continuously learning from the inputs given by the individual users. For the input, we will make use of Google Cloud's speech-to-text API.
Our competitors are Wobot and Wiser. Wobot primarily uses text communication and allows limited freedom in expressing their thoughts to the chatbot. Wiser's boxes are scripted, giving you a set of options to choose from. This means it's not very personalized or using machine learning to help you learn your personality or habits. Neither option offers vocal communication. So our main advantage over our competitors is that we offer both voice and text communication, whereas our competitors only offered text. This was chosen after conducting market validation, which I'll talk about shortly. Heart Healer uses machine learning to learn an individual's needs and habits and ensure that the app is personalized to the individual user. Finally, we also offer the option to staff to connect their company counsellor if they feel the need. We conducted market research to validate our idea and received over 30 responses. The majority of the people felt that their mental health was affected by the lockdown. Almost 90% felt that a personal assistant would help their management by providing assistance through planning tasks, prioritizing, and setting reminders for completion. While 60% of people would prefer to talk via voice, there was still a number of people who wanted to type, which is why we have concluded both options. Finally, over half of the people wanted the option to connect with a company's counsellor if they felt the need. These demonstrate that there is a keen interest in the unique value that our product provides.
So considering our initial investment into the solution, we have considered the expense in employing staff for the development of the bot and also the cloud hosting platform. Although it is expensive in comparison to other bot developers, we have decided to use Dialogflow due to its machine learning capabilities and the fast response speed to keep our users satisfied. And as both Firebase real-time database and Dialogflow are services found on the same cloud platform, integration will be more efficient than using another third-party platform. Firebase offers its basic services for free, and we estimate with 1,000 early adopters that we will not go over the limitations of the basic services within the first year. And we also require 6 employees for the development of the bot and the testing phase. Adding up the total costs will lead us to $74,000 in the first year. And these are just estimated costs of using Dialogflow, taking in inputs via audio and text. And so another reason why we've decided to go with Dialogflow and the cloud platform is that it offers an extensive pricing plan. With growth in user base and the transfer of data through Heart Healer, we will eventually require more capacity. Pricing with Google is easily scalable depending on our requirements. For example, we have here, by the end of the second year, we estimate we will have acquired 2,500 users, and in addition to the data storage and user input, our total cost will come up to $65,000. Other fixed costs during the year will be developers working through maintenance and implementing changes from feedback. So looking at our projected revenue over the first 3 years, our costs do exceed sales in the startup year, but with steady building of our brand name and functionality, we estimate to have profited at least $86,000 at the end of the 3rd year. And also we'll be offering Heart Healer to all sizes of businesses in 3 different packages depending on how many staff members are under employment. Basically, the package includes licenses for the users to access the standard feature of the bot. The standard version will be priced at $50 per license, charged annually.
We aim to complete development and testing within 3 months in order to release into both the New Zealand and Australian market. Within the first year, our early adopters will be large enterprises, and that will enable us access to a sizable number of users from whom we can receive feedback. And by the end of the 3rd year, we expect to have acquired 140 customers ranging from large to small and medium enterprises. In order to understand who we could target with Heart Healer, we looked into our available market. Of the nearly 2 billion global English-speaking workforce, 15 million of them are in New Zealand and Australia. Among those, 5.3 million work in large enterprises, showing us our service obtainable market. Our target segment is aimed at all companies in Australia and New Zealand who have their employees working from home due to lockdown. Once there is already a steady user base, we could approach the Ministry of Health for endorsement of the product to get more companies on board with Heart Healer. Additionally, we'll be looking at doing direct marketing to interested companies with stakeholder outreach presentations, showing them our demo as well as our value that they can our value to their company, along with posting the app on the App Store and Play Store for greater visibility. After the initial release in Oceania, we'll be taking upon user feedback to do bug fixing and adding on further features. After this, we'll be researching mental health policies in different Commonwealth countries in order to see where we take Heart Healer to next. This is our team at Team Witchcraft who have brought you this product and this idea. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, team, for your presentation. You'll now have 10 minutes of Q&A.
Great work, team. I'll kick off. So I love the fact that you've gone down the wellbeing, because it's very relevant right now to all of us that have been working remotely for such a long time. I know my friends in Australia are up to 7 months now of remote work. Talk to me a little bit, and maybe I've missed it, talk to me a little bit about your go-to-market for this product.
The initial service of Table Market will be to look at the various large enterprises that can support an application like this in New Zealand and Australia. So we looked at the number of companies that have over, say, 1,000 employees, and thought that that the level of stress they'd be under, particularly for having to work at home during this time, would make them sufficient candidates to use our application.
Mm-hmm. And have you thought about how would you go about approaching them, or understanding who are the right, I guess, the right corporates to target?
So with that question, I can answer that one. We did do some research. There were some stats collected by Stats NZ, and a lot of the employees that have been working from home are from the finance industry or services industry. So there were numbers about 70% of the finance and insurance institutions are working from home, have ended up working from home since Civil 4 in New Zealand. So, and workplaces have become a bit more flexible, but mostly the office workers are our targets.
Great, awesome. And then have you thought about partnerships as well with this product?
Partnerships with, are you considering like health professions, clinics?
Yeah,
or
if you think about partnerships, what's something else in the market that would be potentially worth partnering? Another brand, another product where this would complement and help you scale? You don't have to answer that if the answer's no.
It's a really good suggestion. We haven't really considered that much in the way of who we could partner up with, because we were more focused on getting the business model for this company off the ground. But it's a really good suggestion, and we can look into it more in the future.
Awesome. Great work, team. Well done.
Great work. I think where Carol might be going, I'm not sure, like employee assistance programs and things like that. Is that where you're going, Carol? Yeah. So just to let you know, there's a bunch of businesses that actually support using counsellor services, because I think one of the barriers will be that cost of that counselling service. If you're already paying for it, you know, and corporates already pay for it, then great partnership. But I agree in terms of the area of the focus. Loved your little sort of pitch for yourself in terms of winning. Love that you actually went out there and actually spoke to customers, to people regarding their mental health, etc. I think sample sizes would have been good on that one. And you had a focus on fixed and ongoing costs, which is really good. What was the number of business users that you'd actually need to break even on the actual service itself? So this thing starts to wash its face when I have this number of users using all of my fixed costs largely, but fixed and variable.
So with breaking even, we obviously are not breaking even in the first year.
Yep.
But to break even at least by the end of the third year, we do need to have attained 6,500 users. But our goal is to aim for 8,000 at least. And that would require meeting up to 140 businesses.
Yep. Adding on to that, we feel that because we're targeting initially at least large enterprises, that number will be quite easy for us to reach by that time frame.
Great. Thanks very much. Darren?
Thank you.
I was just curious, you listed Wobot and Weiser as competitors there. I was curious as to how your pricing stacks up against theirs.
I think one of them was free, which was Wobot, I think. And Weiser was paid for. But they were both quite basic in terms of the features that they offered. So they weren't very personal. So the idea was that we'd offer more personalized thing, which would account for the pricing, as well as the voice, as well as, yeah.
Sounds good. Yeah. I think the other questions were good too. So I think that was everything from me.
Cool. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. Well done.
Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, team.
Thank you.
Cool.
2 minutes remaining and for 1 minute remaining for your presentation and for Q&A. If you have not concluded after 10 minutes, you will be asked to stop. Begin whenever you feel ready.
Hi, we're the Outliners. My name is Jason, with my teammate Anne and David and Dean. So the pain point we found for SME is that they are facing overstocking and understocking. So as mentioned in our last pitch deck, we realized how painful it is for them to survive. And it's desperate to watch them suffer. Even they have the alternative solution, but it's not affordable for them to survive in COVID. Well, first, it costs a lot of money for them to use the software since they are not the SAP target customers. Second, even though they have the money to burn, it's not reasonable for them to use it as they have got their own inventory management, or it takes time to change the staff. And by the time they adopt the solution from SAP, well, the business might already die. So yeah, so he comes with our solution. Our service is called Insight. So we provide insights on the optimal inventory level with low price and easy to use so that they can minimize the risk. And our target customers are the small and medium grocery stores. Well, our starting point is going to be the 400 stores in Melbourne after excluding the numbers of the big retailers like Coles. So why our SAP is not is our indirect competitors? Well, our target users are different. SAP focuses on the big retailers while we focus on the small and medium grocery stores. Second, their GUI UI is hard to use and which takes time to train the staff. And our feature can compensate the competitors' weakness. And I'm going to talk about why we can help SME. So first, the inventory forecasting software saves their cost by providing the insights on the inventory allocation. So, and second, our service is cheaper based on the price that pay as you go, which Anne will talk about it later. And also, SME don't need to change their inventory management. They can just use our feature on top of their own system. And third, by considering the usability for the staff, it's easier for them to import the data by uploading the files or even scanning the receipt. So I'm going to leave to David to talk about it more.
So to conclude what Jason has said, I want to emphasize that our idea is to create a web application to find the optimal inventory level so we can avoid the effects of understocking and overstocking in a grocery store. So now here's our, so now is my bad, sorry. So this is, I'm going to show you our video prototype. Hello everyone, what you're seeing now is the home page after you log in. In this page, it will show you the latest report with brief details. And if you want to see the full report, you can click on to this link. And beside the history button for viewing input and output of files, there's also a folder for your imported CSV or XML files and a list of generated reports. And of course, the main button of this page would be the new prediction button. In order to create a new report, the web application will ask for the initial and final stock lists, which could be input via a file, photo, or manually. And the duration section will specify how long should the prediction be valid for. And by importing the latest report, we could improve the machine learning model in the future. By clicking this button, a new report will be generated. Please keep in mind this is the only sample report. More information would be included later. And for our web application, there's a feature I would like to mention, which is the customization function. A grocery store may use different schema for their databases. By allowing them to input their database columns name into our template and save the equivalent meaning into a setup, the user could reuse their database schema over and over again easily. So for example, a store would name the products columns as stuff, and by allowing them to indicate that the web's product column is equivalent to the stuff column, the web application will know to read the data from the stock column into the product column. So as our web application could be a little bit hard to use because we have to deal with database, we're planning to make tutorial and guidelines to show a user on how to input their data correctly. Moreover, in order to make our web application work, we're going to need a few technologies such as AWS TechTrack, so we can convert the photos of receipts our forms into CSV files. And we also need file management and database system to store our files and data. And we also need Lambda in order to create a serverless web application. And our core thing would be machine learning. So we would also require some AWS as machine learning services. So this is our development plan, which we assume that is going to last around 6 months. So we're going to spend the first 3 months and simultaneously develop the app and the machine learning model. And after that, we're going to launch a beta testing, which is going to last for another 3 months. So we could improve further our machine learning model. And now our friend Dim is going to talk about our strategy of marketing.
Thank you, David. With our current situation of COVID-19, using social media platforms such as Facebook and LinkedIn and offering a referral bonus is the best way to promote and advertise our products. As we all know, social media is more cost efficient than billboards and TV advertisements. Creating and having a business page will also increase product recognition, where customers and users can like and share our page. As a result, it allows us to develop networks and engagement, which will further increase brand loyalty. Marketing and customer experience executive of Dan Genie said, when you interact with customers on a one-to-one basis on social media, it makes them more loyal. Loyal customers spend more with you, stay with you longer, and tell their friends about you. So using existing customers' advantage, we can implement another strategy by offering our users a bonus or benefit when they promote our product online or offline. Is a surefire way to get them to spread the word. This is because people are more likely to purchase or use our product when referred by a trusted friend. We'll offer our product at reduced rates or give them discounts when existing users bring new users. But in the future, we'll try to integrate other marketing strategies such as radio, print magazine, or articles. Now, I will let Annie talk about our financial goals.
Thank you, Dim. So in terms of the financial aspect, so we currently have 4 members, and so the initial capital would be around 200 to 400 monthly. But we also need to cover the uncertainties in our project, including the fluctuating level of investment, demand from the clients, and the choices of the products, as we will provide different options for the clients. And so it's quite difficult to actually forecast the financial outcomes or to produce the financial forecast. And also we need to take into account of the services fee, and there is an expectation of a change in pricing and initial costs. In terms of the financial goals, our goal is to minimize the setup cost to actually create a sufficient saving amount for the future investment if the ID's plan is actually reasonable to apply in the real life context. And also we need to consider the long-term loan if the plan is actually reasonable and can produce it's really reasonable for the future, and to minimize the time spent saving for the investment. So in terms of the pricing, so this is the main revenue where it's come from. We actually have 2 different plans, Plan A and Plan B, and both these plans have 2 options, which are pay as you use and the monthly subscription. So the only difference between these 2 plans is that for the Plan B, the business can actually import their own data files into the web application, and so the prices of both option 1 and option 2 will be slightly cheaper than those of the Plan A. So for the Plan A, option 1 and option 2 will be around $8 and $30 respectively, while in Plan B, the price for option 1 and option 2 will be around $5 and $25 respectively. In terms of the costs, for the building costs, which are the prototype and the trials, it will be mostly free because we will just utilize the free trials. But for the running costs for the first year, we estimate that around $235 per month, and for the first year it would be around $2,800. And we already calculated the break-even point, and in order to reach that break-even point, we would need to actually sell 3 options 1 and 3 options 2 in either Plan A or B. So this is the end of our presentation,
And on the behalf of our team, we'd like to thank you for your listening and feel free to ask us any questions.
Thanks for your presentation, team. You'll now have 10 minutes of Q&A.
I'll dive in then. Just in terms of, I mean, certainly stock inventory and stock management, massive issue for particularly mid-market businesses. Just so I've got an idea of your target zone in terms of your customers that you're targeting. What's the average turnover of the customers that you're targeting or businesses that you're targeting about? Have you thought about that?
Could you elaborate more on like what do you mean by the turnover of the customer?
Revenue. So
revenue.
like if you're targeting sort of grocery stores and that sort of thing, like is it an IGA type franchise? You're targeting a store? Like I'm just trying to get a sense of the size of business because you've got SAP up here, which is tier 1, so they're definitely the Coles, and you've got mum and pop milk bars down here, and then in the middle you've got whole plethora. I'm just trying to get a sense of who you're targeting with an inventory management piece of software.
Yeah. So right now, our initial idea was like when you look at Uber Eats and other online web applications, you can see that like there are many local grocery stores, and when you look at them, they actually usually tend to out of stock, even though like there are things that like people want, but then like they're out of stock. Or something that like not many people would buy it, but they're like still in the stock, which is overstocking and understocking. So by looking at that, we aiming those like local or like small, medium grocery stores, which is typically in the local areas and stuff. So not like the big franchise like Coles and Woolies and stuff.
Right. Okay. All right. And in terms of, have you spoken to, because lots of the time in terms of the stocking of those stores, they're done by the actual merchants. So if I'm Coca-Cola, I'm actually making sure that fridge is full of Coca-Cola. And so that inventory management is actually taken on by those that are actually trying to sell through those stores.
So so what we're trying to do is like the local grocery store owners will be the one that like directly management, because for each local grocery store, when I worked at like a 7-Eleven alike store, I could see that like they use an inventory management system, right, to manage like how much stock they have in their store, so they can track like how much should they buy or should they just like and the expiry dates of those things.
Yeah.
So in order to manage it, and so those inventory management system, just like its name, just only manage that inventory, but it doesn't tell you how much stock should you have, so you can avoid like overstocking or understocking. So by avoiding those like understocking or like overstocking, you could like maximize your profit a bit more. Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
I'll jump in with a question. I think one of the things that interests me here is I think that being able to create a prediction model, provide needs kind of evidence, historic evidence, and things like that. And I guess that there's for each store, each location with more, you'll get more precise models. But what it seems to me that you would have a certain amount of onboarding costs. Both for yourselves and for the customer as well. What's your strategy to kind of reduce the amount of onboarding effort in terms of getting access to their data, providing free periods? What kinds of strategies do you have to help get your customers onto the platform and being productive in the system?
So at first, like when we introduced, so let's say talk about our advertising and marketing strategy would start from like the beginning when we starting to build a web application. We would go, so we use social media, and then we would like talk to local grocery store, introduce our product, and let them have like the trial demo of our web applications. We would like ask them to like exchange the data in front of promotions, so we will incentivize them to use it in the future more. So we use the exchange of the data for our like service, and like in the future, as Dim has said about the marketing strategy, we use referral bonus to like incentivize people to reference to other people and like show like how it works, so they would receive like promotions and stuff. Does that answer your question, or is it still a bit unclear?
I think it's once you've kind of gotten to that point where you've identified a customer and they said, yes, I'm good to go now. But then there is still that point where, especially if you're dealing with a smaller organization, they may have less complex IT systems, they may have more data. You may end up either having to kind of get them to provide you with data as a dump from their POS system, or that you might actually just hook into their POS system for multiple months before you actually start churning out something of value. There seems like there's a fair trial period, or a fair kind of, as I said, that kind of sign up and that onboarding process becomes quite complicated and potentially quite expensive as well.
Yeah, I see. So like I said before, we use the tutorial to show them how to use it. Like I have said it, and in order to get them on board using it, I probably think, does any of you guys have any?
Yes. I can give you a more clear picture in terms of how we can, lure the data from different small stores. So for example, we have actually have a plan that how we can make a discount for the small stores or medium stores. And maybe, for example, if you subscribe our services for the first 2 months, we'll give you some certain types of 90% off. And then the second plan is, once maybe you don't want to subscribe it, you just want to use it like as pay as you go. So the first 12 times or 10 times, we'll just give a little bit of discount so that we can actually get their data and train our model in a way, and also they can get our insight as a reference. So it's a win-win situation in a way that we can improve our model, and also they can get what they want. Like they can just, what they want is a reference of whether our stock is understocking or overstocking. So yeah.
Thank you.
Great job, team. I think a couple of mine have actually been answered, but I think I was thinking competitors outside SAP, because SAP is very much that top end of town. Have you looked at anyone else? Microsoft Dynamics, Salesforce is probably a bit more consumer than this type of thing, but have you looked at some of the others? Can you?
Yes, actually, this is a great question. Thank you. I have actually looked at different sort of software, but what we actually want to focus is not the inventory management, which SAP is doing really, really fantastic. They have got their own resource, professionals. One of the reasons why people use SAP is not because of their product, also because of their product, but also because of what resources they offer, the people, the professional. But what we want to emphasize is on the inventory forecasting, not the management. So forecasting is actually not very much of software is doing it in a way that using machine learning model. And what I could find is that only SAP is doing really, really well, but in a way they focuses on the big retailers, not the small one. So we kind of find the niche in the way that we just created the needs of the small and medium retailers, not the big. So yeah.
Cool. And then I think this is probably what Darren was talking about as well. You referred to onboarding. A lot of these, let's say SAP, for example, or Microsoft Dynamics or Salesforce, they're really big implementation costs. How would you work around that from a SME perspective? Is there any implementation costs to get this up and running that the business would need to understand, or is it purely web-based that they turn it on and it's all go?
I can take on this one. So so there are two ways of, so in order to answer that, I would like to emphasize there are two ways of us to input the data into our system. So one is we're going to use the AWS OCR tech stack. So they don't actually need any database at all or any inventory management system. They just scan their receipts or the form of how much stuff, quantity of the stuff they got in their inventory. Then we just extract those data, put in our own database or the template. Then we analyze that. The second way is, so for each of if they use inventory management system, from what I see, there is a function called you export the CSV file or any XML file or even JSON. Then we use the file to put in. We use that file, then we're gonna use we're gonna have functions to extract those data from the CSV file, any of those data files. And we're gonna use those files to analyze. So we don't have to implement into the inventory management system, all we need is either photo of your receipts or like photo of your phone, or maybe like just data files, CSV files that you can export from the inventory management system.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. That's time for Q&A.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Cool. Thank you.
Awesome.
Everyone.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thanks, guys. So what we'll have now is the judges will take it in turn just to give some general feedback, what you guys did well and some areas where potentially to develop and look for further on, and then we'll announce third place, second place, and the overall winner. So I'll pass it over to Carol first. Firstly, thank you, Carol, for joining it and being our external judge. I know the students would have definitely benefited to present in front of you.
Thank you. And thank you all for having me. It's been an awesome way to spend the afternoon. And I really loved the passion and energy that you've all brought to this. It's super cool. So lots of positives. I love the way that you've used the technology. I love the way that you've thought about using the best platform to get what you needed to. I think, remember scaling as well when you think about bringing this to market, like how do you scale? And I'm not going to use all the points because I know Darren and Kim have got some great suggestions as well. But I think for me, when you think about this from a technology perspective, think about how you're going to convert trials to revenue, because that's what we all want at the end of the day when we're running a tech business, is that annuity business. So how do we think about conversion? And also think about implementation costs of any of this tech. What is the implementation cost that the customer may have? So yeah, look, I mean, that's all from me. Great job, team. Super stoked to be part of this, and thank you very much for having me.
And I'll jump in next. So yeah, really thank you for taking part of this. This is the first IT challenge I've been involved in, and really excited and great to see yeah, all the effort you've put into this and all the energy that you've given into it as well. Yeah, it makes me really excited for it as well. Things that I really enjoyed seeing was just, being a techie and a geek myself, I definitely like to see the application of technology in finding new solutions with that as well. I think this time around we set the challenge to try to bring ML and AI into this the problem space, and I think that you've done really well in the terms of you've been able to bring in technologies that were would provide value today. But then I think where we were able to kind of start to see some really good stories being told was where you started to talk about the opportunities that collecting data and building your data today would build for the future as well. And I think that's one of the interesting challenges we're going to see for startups of the future. Is it's not just about growing your customer base, it's actually starting to kind of grow the assets, the data assets that you have, to be able to start to kind of provide more value as well. So it's, for me, the interesting challenge is going to be, how do you find enough of a market share, enough customers, to be able to start to build that journey for you, and then moving from there. So I think from that perspective, really excited to see what you guys started thinking about in that space. Other things, I think that, well, actually, as we ducked it off into other sessions, it was actually Carol that was the one that kept on pointing to this, was the privacy element of things as well. And I think I really appreciated that everyone came into that with that view as to kind of thinking about, consumer rights and privacy of the data that you're using as well. I think that sets us all up for a positive future with people kind of coming into that space and thinking about customer needs from that perspective. I'll leave it there and give Kim some space to talk about positives.
Thanks very much, Darren and Carol. I think you just said it there, Darren. What a future we've got. I mean, I thought they were absolutely incredible. The presentations, thanks to everybody it wasn't just presentations, actually, it was all the development that went around them. We've already spoken about the great use of tech. I think the other thing I want to call out is, don't underestimate the value of the mix in your team, the diversity of your team, in terms of both what you know and actually the style that you actually bring to the team. And big call out to Rachel. I am going to call her out because we all just leant in and actually wanted to listen to her. She told a story that we're all listening to. So really, really don't underestimate that, particularly if you're pitching. And that's the way we're having a discussion internally. Are we assessing this for, would you invest, or is it actually the tech? And I think it's a combination of both, really. I think we've already spoken about this a little bit, but the scaling, I think Carol mentioned 2 things for me: go to market, making sure that you're really clear on your go to market. If you just develop tech and you don't monetize, you're just a cost line. Yeah, that's horrible, but that's what it is. That's the cold hard reality, and Darren knows because I tell him that, till it's monetized, it's a cost line. So go to market is key, and that's why a lot of my questions kept harping on cash flow. At what point are you breaking even? When are you going to start, I call it washing your face, where you actually start to make money? You've covered your fixed costs and everything, all your variable costs. Every customer you bring on after that is making you more money than the last customer. Really important hurdle to get over. But yeah, I think that probably covers it for me. But yeah, thank you so much. It was an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thanks for the feedback, judges. So now it's time for what everyone has been waiting for. And I'll pass it back to Kim, who will be announcing 3rd place, and then the other 2 judges 2nd and 1st. So what we can do, use your reactions on Zoom. You've got there, you can do a thumbs up, or we might as well go all the way virtual and do an applause. So after one's announced, let's get those reactions going. Over to you, Kim.
Okay then. So I got 3rd place, and I have to say we spent a long time on this one. So it was line ball. But drum roll. The winner for 3rd place, Team Wizcraft from University of Auckland. Yay! So congratulations, guys. Big focus in terms of the great stuff there. Obviously, the way that targeting enterprises, the business case, the fact that they actually went out and spoke to customers, to users, and really hitting on an absolute key point that most enterprises are honing in on at the moment, and that's around the health and well-being of their, the people in their business, their employees, their people. The miss, if I can, and it's not so much a miss because we actually saw it as it's almost like an easy path to cash, was around really understanding the role of partnerships. You don't need to go out there and do everything yourself when you're actually building a business. Partner up. You don't need to build everything, build the whole sort of go-to-market yourself. If you can utilize partners to help you get to market, do that. There's so much power in that, and a lot of great businesses have actually started up through partnerships. So we saw a good path to cash on that one, as well as being a fantastic wellbeing proposition for the world in which we're actually living now. So congratulations to the team.
Awesome. And I've got the pleasure of our 2nd place. So drum roll again. 2nd place goes to NSW1 for Staff Smart. And we loved the way the team used a great combination of ML and AI. Loved the fact that we looked at cost savings going cloud first. Love the idea, actually. The idea is just great. I think it's something that we really need as well. You guys did a great job of understanding the compete, understanding the market opportunity, looking at what partnerships could look like. I think the only thing that we did touch on when we were talking through this is that conversion to revenue. So how do we move from trial to revenue? Because we all want to get off the cost center line. So I think, yeah, well done team. Awesome effort, and super proud of you all.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Oh. And so for the 1st place, congratulations to those that came in 2nd and 3rd. For me, I think this team really, I enjoyed the fact that what we could see is they got in, they played with the technology, and kind of really enjoyed that process as well. I think that they had, for us, you could see there was a path from acquisition of customer to try to start to bring the customer in there, but you could actually start to see through the story there was a path to scaling and starting to branch out the offering from not just, here's the solution that we have today, but here's the pathway to more revenue and growth in our business beyond that as well. So I thought that across the board, I think it's a unanimous decision here that the Team Rocket from Monash was the winner for today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Well done, guys. Well done to everyone.